Well, we're here at the Best Western Inn and Suites, and I'm here with Tammy VandeNoblen, who is the new president of the newly reformed Valemount and Area Chamber of Commerce. Tammy, what are we doing here tonight?
Well, we're just having a little wine and cheese event just to let people know that the Chamber of Commerce is getting back on track, and we're going to rebuild and hopefully become bigger and better than we were before. So we just wanted to put on this event for the community.
Okay, great, and I know it's been a while coming. What's the vision for the Chamber now?
Well, I think it's just to define what the Chamber is all about, because it's always a question that people ask. But really, we want to work with the businesses. We want to build our membership, because if we don't have members, then we don't have a Chamber. Networking amongst the businesses is sort of our number one thing we'd like to do, and and work from there.
Okay, great. And so you're having kind of an open house, bit of a mixer this evening, and you have a presentation. Who's presenting tonight?
So we have John Beaulac. He is from Columbia Basin Trust. He is the business manager for investments and commercial lending. So we're really excited to see what he has to say, because we are part of the Columbia Basin Trust, which a lot of people don't really know, and it's pretty exciting that we are.
Oh, that's great. And so for those who can't be here tonight and who are interested in joining the Chamber, what should they do?
Well, we've just got our new Facebook page up and running, so there'll be lots of information shared on there. If somebody wants to be a member, they can reach out on that page or to one of the board of directors or myself, and we just want you to come aboard.
Great. Well, thank you, and good luck. Best of luck with the relaunch.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks everyone for showing up tonight. As you're all aware, I'm from Columbia Basin Trust. My name is John Beaulac. I am the manager of commercial business. I work for the trust overseeing their investments department. This is walking around behind the curtain, who we don't see now, is Mackenzie, the director of the investments department. Him and I are going to do a presentation today on just kind of what we do, how we support residents, specifically businesses around the trust, a variety of cool and creative measures, and kind of what we have available to support businesses in your community, and what we can do to work in collaboration with the Chamber to kind of add into the value package that the Chamber can provide to local entrepreneurs or more established businesses. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Tammy, for doing all the legwork on the event, and I'll pass it over to Mackenzie now.
Yeah, thanks, John. We'll start off here with a bit of a history of the trust, a history lesson before we get into the exciting stuff. The trust was formed, for those that aren't aware, back in 1995. It's a provincial crown corporation. So the trust is a subsidiary of the province of British Columbia. Back in 95, we were provided a one-time endowment from the province of $321 million. A large bulk of that money went towards the development of hydroelectric power projects in the West Kootenays. So today we own 4 hydroelectric power projects, 1 dam, 3 generating stations, again, all located in the West Kootenays. It generates a large bulk of the trust revenues. Lesser known, there was an endowment, or part of the endowment was earmarked around $45 million for non-power investments, or for general purpose at the time. Through engagement with residents at that time, the decision was made essentially to invest the money with returns in the future going back to the pool of income that could support communities through all of the work that the trust does. High-level view for those that may not be familiar with the trust's activity in communities. Really widely known as a community development organization. We provide grants, funding support for nonprofit organizations. We fund projects. We fund childcare, affordable housing, all sorts of things, you name it. John and I are part of the program that generates the income for that, and so we're going to be talking about that today. The money we give out, we get back with interest, which is not as exciting, but we'll talk about it nonetheless. So you have here, this is the operating region of the Columbia Basin Trust. It's a fairly large region. Again, Valemount, where we are here at the top. Our region spans all the way to the U.S. border in the south, the Alberta border in the east, and then, of course, in the West Kootenays, you have Rossland being the furthest west community. The illustration there really kind of summarizes how the trust functions as an organization. So we generate income from our investments, again, large part power operations, and we use that income to support communities through grants and programs. Now, I've talked about it a little bit already, but here's a bit of an overview of what we invest in. Again, the hydropower assets, John and I's portfolio, private placements and market securities. Again, sort of fancy investment terms for we lend money to businesses, and then we also hold commercial real estate in the Basin region. The lease income from that generates revenue for us, and then of course goes back out into communities. And then we also have a market securities portfolio that balances our overall portfolio. I'm going to pass it over to John here for a little more detail on our work in commercial lending and our commercial real estate work as well.
So this here, the next few slides I'm going to talk about is really like what I consider the fun stuff that I get to do on a daily basis. So much like a bank or credit union or community futures or BDC or any other kind of traditional or non-traditional lender that you can think of that provides, working capital or business financing or a variety of other supports to local entrepreneurs or businesses, the trust also provides a similar offering. We do it in, not to speak out of line, but we do it in what I consider to be a more creative way, where we take a lot more focus in the character of the individual, how their business fits in the region, the community impact, and we try to, how I describe it, is fill gaps that are left by these non-traditional lenders when someone has a goal or an aspiration on how to take their business to the next step, but all the banks, credit unions, or other kind of lenders are saying, no, the numbers just don't make the most sense to us. We're able to take a look at it from a non-traditional lens, understand the community impact, understand how it kind of fits into these various communities in our region, and make a more informed decision that is less so just based on what the numbers say. Most of our support, because of that, is in kind of like business succession, business acquisition, and supporting smaller to medium-sized businesses across the basin. That is not the only thing we do. We'll do more traditional lending as well, anything from commercial mortgages to equipment financing to construction and development, as you can all see there. But where kind of, I'd say like the bread and butter of our portfolio is filling in these gaps that is left from the banks or the credit unions. And I'm not sure what the banking environment is like kind of here in Valemount, but I go around a lot of communities and I kind of hear a similar story, that their small business lending representative is based at Kelowna or based at Calgary or kind of another community that's not in the town they're actually in, which is a really different approach than the trust takes. Is I spend a lot of time out on the road, out in communities, like, sitting down with entrepreneurs, seeing their business firsthand, hearing their story, what makes it work, what kind of added supports they need. And then, I find a lot of enjoyment in being able to assist in a variety of ways, predominantly on the commercial lending side, where we, look to provide financing. Some lending terms are said there on the right. I mean, our typical deal size is in that kind of $250,000 and up range, but we do look at smaller and we do look at much higher. Just depends on a case-by-case basis. Unlike traditional banks or credit unions, all our loans are completely open, so there's no prepayment penalties or fees for paying us out early. We want to see you guys succeed. And then, unlike traditional banks or credit unions, we can also be a lot more flexible when it comes to lining up payment arrangements, or for businesses who are very seasonal, which is very common in a lot of kind of resort communities or tourist attraction communities. We can line up your payment schedule to kind of fit when you have the revenue coming in, and less so when you don't, to provide you a variety of support in the off season. What we don't do is no personal lending or no kind of startup financing or anything that would be, considered, let's say, high risk or overly speculative. But without getting into too much kind of nitty gritty about what we do and what we don't do, I'm always happy to have a conversation. I love hearing the stories of what people are up to business wise and seeing what kind of support I can provide, or if I can refer you to someone who can fill in that need. We also own commercial real estate across the basin. This is more so from like a passive perspective. We're not out in the communities actively looking to buy. It's more so as properties come to us. Oftentimes, there's probably people in Valemount, there's people all over the basin like this who have been in the community for a long time and just kind of own, let's say, half the downtown block. They're looking to move on from properties. They're getting to a point where they don't want to maintain them anymore, move on from that piece of portfolio. Often we can come in and allow the businesses who are currently operating to continue operating in the buildings rather than have a new owner come in and perhaps evict, which is where we find a lot of success. But this is few and far in between. We're not actively out really engaging in commercial real estate investment. A lot of the work is going to be on the lending side or various business supports. The trust sponsors a program called Basin Business Advisors. It's completely free up to a certain level of business advisory service that the trust provides through grant funding, which all you have to do is be a resident in the basin and have a business to qualify for, which is another great support. We also provide a lot of kind of, let's say, referral connections to other professionals when it comes to accountants, lawyers, bookkeepers, or anything that can help take your business to the next level. So far beyond just the supports to commercial lending or commercial real estate, we can really work collaboratively with the chamber or business owners to help push you in the right direction on what you might need. Why work with us? Like, as I kind of just went through a little bit of a spiel there, yeah, we're very business to business focused. I think the main difference and why I think it's amazing to work at the trust and work with business owners is the deep regional expertise we have. Not to kind of repeat myself on a lot of these business reps being based out of Calgary, based out of Kelowna, and like they wouldn't be able to put their finger on Valemount on the map or any part of the trust region, maybe besides Cranbrook. We spend a lot of time out in the community. We know what's going to work and what's not. When a business owner comes to us with a proposal to start a new business that's just not going to make any sense in a small community like VACC down near where I live, we know if it's going to work and we know if it's going to not, and it works both ways. So you're not going to find that same regional expertise at a lot of the big banks with these lenders who are based out of Toronto, Vancouver, these large city centers. Local decision making, when I come and meet with you, review your business financials, talk about your hopes and your dreams, like you're sitting down with someone who is making a decision on your loan. It's not like, a computer approval, yes or no, or some, guy wearing a, three-piece suit and tie in a big city. When I come and meet with you, I am the decider of if the deal goes ahead or not. And we have no sector restrictions or funding caps. So a lot of the banks will kind of slide in and out of various sectors based on how much money they've put out. Whereas that always doesn't work in especially regions like the Basin where we have a lot of companies who are in forestry or in construction or in these types of industries where if the trust or banks are going to limit how much money is going out to them, eventually there's going to be a cap that's hit, and that's people that aren't going to get the support they need. And then just our contact information. I also have a bunch of cards at the front if you're interested, and I'm happy to have any kind of side conversations with people if you have further questions. I'm also happy to take questions right now as well. I'm happy to repeat anything I went over if you felt I talked too fast. I'm not used to being just at the mic. Often I'm allowed to kind of have a little bit of free roam, kind of like a cat, you could say. So maybe went a little faster than I normally would. And yeah, thank you so much for having us. Thanks again, Tammy, for doing all the legwork on the event. I definitely would not be able to set this up myself, so it's really appreciated. And I'll kind of pass the floor over to you guys if you had any questions about anything, whether related to the presentation or just general trust questions.